there's stuff on your mind and you're feeling unclear, just hop on the mic and speak without fear. Let's air out.
Good morning, everyone. This is not the actual intro to the podcast. It's currently Friday morning, which means the podcast did not go up on Thursday like it normally does. I recorded it yesterday, and I really just was not happy with the output of it. I tried to mimic what I did in episode 4 and just talk freely and thinking just things would come to my mind without any preparation. And I could not think of any interesting things to talk about. I feel like the quality of this podcast was much lower than the other ones. I kind of just jumped around to different things thinking it'd be entertaining. And it didn't reach the standard that I wanted it to be. So that's why I kind of delayed and sat on it and didn't know what to do with it. So I'm just recording this intro right now. I'm not going to throw away the podcast. I'm still going to upload it. And you're still going to get to listen to it in its entirety. I tried to edit a little extra, talks inside there to make it more entertaining and make some more topics that would be enticing to people. Hopefully it's still somewhat enjoyable, but if it's not, I totally get it. But we take the negatives and turn them into positives here. So ended up going for a walk last night and thinking about what I could do to this podcast to make it better. And then on top of just editing in some new things, I think next week I've learned the mistakes I made in this podcast and how we can take the no topic podcasts and make them still interesting and have something entertaining for you guys to listen to. So just wanted to give you a little heads up before we get into the actual podcast. I'll let myself take it away. Thanks, guys.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Number five.
That's right. We made it to 5 episodes. We have beaten the statistic. I was researching earlier this week how far most podcasts make it, and it seems like 4 episodes is where most people will record up to and then give up, either due to a lack of interest in it or a lack of viewership. And I mean, I think we have actually a strong base. I don't know where I was going to go with that. We have a strong base of 20 people, it seems, are watching this every single week, those are good numbers for a new podcast, I think. It may seem really low, but when I was doing that research, I found out that the top 50% of podcasts get 26 viewers a week, and then it goes up to like the top 20% get like 76 viewers, and above that, there's very few podcasts that are actually getting thousands to millions of viewers every week, it's a little deceiving. You look at Spotify and Google Podcasts and iTunes and see all these massive podcasts that we've all heard of from big companies. I just never realized that that's actually a very small portion of podcasts. There are like 500,000 podcasts or something, maybe 200,000. One of those numbers, between 200 and 500,000. That I know it's a massive range, but it's somewhere in there. And then, yeah, we see, kind of the tip of the iceberg. There's a very few that are well known to everybody. And then I guess there's just a lot that are super niche or just people like me recording those thoughts with grand aspirations of grandeur or grander aspirations. I'm not saying grander with ER, I'm saying EUR, because I'm pretty sure that's a different word. But anyways, we made it to number 5. I can see why people quit after 4. Today was a tough one to get out. Not because I have a tough life, but because I like to make my life tough with a poor mindset. I think throughout my life, I have just become too accustomed to being lazy because I've just gotten away with it for so long. I've never had to put in a hard day's work to get anything, because it usually just ends up falling in my lap anyways. As my mom says, I got lucky horseshoes up my butt, and things just seem to work out. And I've realized that. I do have lucky horseshoes somehow. And I don't know if that's a thing that everyone experiences, where you're kind of lazy with things and then they just end up panning out in your favor anyways. For an example, just one example, when I was working at my last company, RJ Burnside, I had applied to the position that was being offered in Mississauga. And I was living in Barrie at the time. And if you don't know, those are about an hour and 20 minutes apart on a good day of traffic. On a bad day of traffic, or in the winter snows, you're looking at could be 2+ hours of driving every day. But I didn't care, because I just wanted to get out of my job at Wessex, which you can hear all about in episode 1, which I think I should do another episode. I want to do an episode on my jobs. I think I could come up with a couple, just go through my resume and find some entertaining stories to talk about from past jobs. that was something I wanted to get into, just telling stories from my life, funny things that have happened to me. The problem is I just can't recall them off the top of my head. My brain's a lot like Google. I can't just like access everything. I gotta like think of the right keywords or have someone say something that then reminds me, and then I can pull that whole memory out. I've got a good memory that way. But just, if someone just, it's like when people say, hey, name 100 names, and you can name like 15, and like, oh my God, I don't know any other names. It's like that. So that's why I need a co-host to help me, pull these thoughts out. They can be like, there'll be my Jamie, but instead of on Google, they'll just be saying keywords until I click something in my brain, and then I can tell a story. But anyways, back to the topic at hand. We were talking about RJ Burnside and horseshoes in my ass. But I'm not supposed to swear on this. Horseshoes at my butt. Yeah, so, and then I got the job in Mississauga. We'll say this was January 2020. We won't say it is. We will say it is, because it was January 2020. And I had to find an apartment down there. And the best one I found, I wanted to get a 1-bedroom because I didn't want a roommate, which was so stupid in hindsight. I should have gotten a roommate. It's way cheaper. And I found a basement apartment, a nice apartment in a nice neighborhood. It was in the suburbs, but it was a house, a separate backdoor entrance, so I never had to go through the front house and see who actually lived there. Which was there was a bishop living there, like a church bishop, and then another student. I believe there's a student or just another young guy like me was living upstairs and renting the upstairs bedroom, which I think he got the weirdest scenario because he'd had to like actually live in the house, in this guy's house that they had rented out, whereas I had my own separate space. But it was a really expensive basement, $1,300 a month. My paycheck was $1,300 every 2 weeks, so right away I'm losing an entire paycheck to rent at the end of the month. And I moved in there at the end of January, and then I realized very quickly I could not afford this place. Like I'm gonna have like $100 a month left over for food and everything else. Like I'm not gonna be able to put anything into savings. This is after like my car payments, my tuition, my insurance, plus rent. So I had $2,600 coming in and like $2,450 going out. It was nuts. So I knew I could not afford to live there. Luckily, and I was like, my credit card was like, I couldn't pay it off because I was only getting $150 extra. So I could never keep up with the credit card payments. My phone too. Forgot my phone bill. So I was just getting deeper in the hole. And then luckily tax season comes around. I love tax season. At least I did. I don't know if I'm sure that thought will change at some point. I know everyone doesn't love tax season, but for me, it's like free money day. The government's just paying me to live, essentially. And it was the last year I could claim my tuition because I don't know how taxes work. I'm not going to pretend I do. There's like a carry forward every year because I couldn't claim the tuition because I wasn't making enough money, or I had to be out of school to be able to claim it, something like that. So I ended up getting like $3,000 back from the government, and then that helped me covered all my bills, and like got me out of the red back into the green, or was it in the black? Out of the red into the black. I think that's what the financial term is: red to black to red. No, red to black. I don't know. I'm colorblind, so I'm allowed to screw that up. But then tax season was like end of February, start of March, I believe. I think so. My timeline could be all off, but I believe when you can first submit your T4, and I did like immediately as soon as I got my T4, I submitted so I could get my cash back. And then COVID ended up coming in, and with COVID, I was able to break my lease because I'd been there for 3 months, and technically I wasn't supposed to be able to get out of it, but with he was an older bishop, he was an older gentleman, so I think it makes sense for him to be like, I don't want this young stranger living in my house. And then he was also super respectful of them, like, hey, I'd rather go back and be with my family, since another reason is the offices for RJ Burnside closed down, so I would only have to be doing field work, and any work that I would normally be doing in the office that was 5 minutes away from my basement apartment, I could now do from home in Barrie. So I'm like, I'm going to ditch this place and go back to paying $500 a month to go live with my parents again. And I'm saving $800 a month right there, which is crazy money. And I'm not locked into a lease with my parents. I'm allowed to leave whenever I want. So that was the first. COVID was kind of a horseshoe for me. I know it was not a horseshoe for many, many, many people, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm not aware of the badness, the bad of the COVID. COVID is not an angel. I don't know if I'm going to cut this part out. You need to hear this. Or maybe I won't, and I'll just leave that fourth wall break in there. But yeah, come March, I was back home in Barrie, saving money. I was like, okay, what a relief. Now I still had to drive to like Milton, Brampton, Vaughan, one site briefly in Burlington. So it was still like a lot of driving. And because my head office was still in Mississauga, I could only charge my mileage from Mississauga. So I was still losing money driving to work every day, paying for gas, and then a lot of oil changes. Those 10,000 kilometers come up pretty quick when you're driving to the GTA to and from, 3 to 5 times a week. But then come November, I went through the summer living at home, driving to the GTA all the time. This is after I had my epiphany in the summer that I need to start releasing my thoughts, not publicly, but just I need to start talking about my emotions and getting things out there. And in November, we found out that one of our coworkers was leaving, and she was in charge of all the Barrie sites for our company. If I hadn't mentioned before, we do construction projects like based on cities, and usually like a person will be assigned to all the sites in one city. So we had 9 sites in Barrie that had to be monitored in the field, and those, obviously I was in Barrie, so all those just got shifted to me, and they kind of reworked the field schedule for everybody. So you kind of, you gained some sites and you lost some sites to the new employee based on, what office you're based out of. At this point, we had Newmarket, Mississauga, and Guelph were the main ones for us. And I had gone from Mississauga to being based out of Newmarket come COVID. Like midsummer, I ended up being switched over in offices. Wow, this story is just a real drag on. I don't even remember what I was going with it. Basically, COVID came, I got to move back home in Barrie. Then all my work ended up coming to Barrie, so now I could work even closer to home. And then I got to move to the Newmarket office, which means I could charge more mileage, which means I was making money again on my drives. And that all, I didn't do anything to ask for any of that. That just kind of all just happened and fell into my lap. I've never bought lottery tickets. I've only ever gotten scratchers for my birthday from my sister. My birthday and Christmas, and I've won, I think, like $300 on all of them combined. Like, I always just... we got, on Christmas, she got us these ones that have, like, 6 games on one big fold-out sheet, and I won on every single game. I think I won, like, $150 or something. And on my 16th birthday, my sister bought me a scratch ticket, and I won $60 on it. And I think there was another time where I won more money. It's crazy. I have really good luck. I also I notice whenever I get in line for something, whenever I'm getting close to the front, I turn around and the line is way, way longer than when I ever got into it. And I feel like I ended up just getting to that place at the exactly correct time, which is nuts. I don't know how that always happens, but I also think maybe I'm only recognizing it when that happens. And when it doesn't happen and I'm at the end of the long line, I'm not thinking about it. So that's very possible too. Wow. That was a talk. But that's exactly what I wanted to do. That was just brain vomit me talking. So now I got to think of something else to talk about. Oh, real quick, we got a thank you to hand out. The air out thank yous. I don't have a soundbite for this, so thank you for being yourself. Thank you for helping me out. This is the thank you portion of the podcast, and today's thank you is going to be for Christian Jordan, my boy from Oshawa. We went to Durham College together in the Environmental Tech Fast Track program. He was one of the... okay, how many of us? Me. Maybe there's... someone's going to correct me on this, but there's 10 and a few extra, maybe? I don't remember. I never actually... I did count us at one point, but that number's gone. But we essentially... there was 5 of us that just traveled in the pack to all our classes, did all our studying together, and Christian was one of those people. He was my lab partner for 2 of our courses, I think. And he hit me up on Discord the other day out of the blue, said he's been loving the podcast. I don't know if he said love. He said really enjoying, but I'm going to take that as loving it. He said, "Oh my God, Aaron, your podcast has been the greatest piece of entertainment that's been put out in the recent decade. I've been so inspired by it." This is all in quotations. This is me summarizing it. I'm so inspired by your podcast that I got back into graphic design purely to create this new logo for your podcast. That's pretty much what he said, give or take a few or all of those words. And so you should see now there's a new logo on Air In, Air Out, a little more professional than the stock photo of a desk fan that I just wrote Air In, Air Out over top of, with the background. I don't remember what that checkerboard pattern is called, but it's supposed to be like the stuff that goes invisible when you put in Photoshop, so you just see the fan. But because I don't have Photoshop, I just put it into Paint, so the background's still on there. So it's a major improvement. We've now got professional music being done by Ethan Myers, a professional logo done by Christian Jordan, which if you want to reach out and check out his other work, you can find him on Instagram, created_by_Christian, Christian like the religion. I can link that. I think I can link that somewhere in the description. I'm still working on this distribution thing of the podcast. I wonder how much my voice changes when I plug my nose like that. I should avoid scratching my nose. But that was huge. That was such a shocker on Monday night. I was having a call with a friend. Ended up being like it was Sarah, my ex. If I can say that. I mean, if I can say that, I can say whatever I want on this podcast. And she's listening to it right now. Hey Sarah, how's it going? And I got a Discord message in the middle of that, thinking it's just the boys asking me if I'm gonna play any games because on Discord at the time. And then after getting off the call and checking that, I was so surprised it was Christian. Like, hey man, here's a free professional logo. It put me in a really good mood. It like fired me up. I was already in a good mood because I had a good conversation, but like it kept my good mood going, kept it rolling for the rest of my night. And I can't believe how many people have just done stuff for me. I never really realized the impact I've had on people in my life. I never thought of myself as a popular person or someone with a lot of friends, which maybe that's kind of an insult to all my friends. I don't know. I think it's more of the way I think of myself. I don't think of myself as a popular person or as someone that people think about in their off time, or that anything I've done in my life has had like a major impact on someone else's life. And I think I gotta work on that. I gotta start being more positive and kind to myself. Give myself more I love yous in the mirror and more pats on the back. I've, not to sound pretentious, but I've gotten some messages of people saying I'm an inspiration, which is not a word I would ever use to describe myself, but it's very, very heartfelt that people say that I've inspired them to get a new job or to move or to start an old hobby again. And I wish I had that impact on myself. It's very flattering that people are listening to this podcast and seeing what I'm doing and then thinking, man, I want to do stuff like that. Or it makes them think of their own hobbies that they want to love and do. So I'm super grateful because that is what I want to get out of this podcast. Even though whenever they tell me it, I'm like, you're a liar. That's not true. You're just being nice. I got to learn to accept the compliment and not immediately, either A, I immediately downplay that compliment and, bring up something that I did wrong again. Or I'm just like super awkward, like, oh, thanks, that's awesome. And then change the subject because I don't like talking about myself, which is weird for a guy who runs a podcast just talking about himself. So I had to, my buddy Reed sent me a message saying I've inspired him to get back into video making after watching my latest YouTube video, Glory in the Quarry, Weekly Wander #1. That's right, the first official Weekly Wander is up. I know the first one I did was 0.1 because I didn't really count that, and then the second one was 0.5 because I wasn't really wandering. It was like a flying vlog. It was easier to do. I wasn't doing a lot of talking to the camera, so that I didn't feel like that counted. But this week on Monday, I went out. I'm so bad. I realized like 30 seconds into this talk that I completely just abandoned what I was talking about before, and now I'm just plugging my YouTube channel. But we're just gonna roll with it anyways. This was the first one. I woke up Monday. Well, initially I was gonna do it last Friday, and it was a gorgeous sunny day, and I was super lazy last week. I was bad. I took too many naps after yoga all the time. I kept taking a nap because I was staying up too late, and it was a bad pattern. So I was going to do it last Friday. Didn't do it, which means I had to then film it on Monday to release it on Tuesday, which I didn't even release it on Tuesday. Again, I'll get to that. And I went out Monday, and I woke up kind of the same as today. I just woke up, and I did not want to do it. I was already planning on going to record it on Tuesday. I'm like, okay, I can record it Tuesday morning, and then I can come home to film with the guys, because we were filming a comedy sketch on Tuesday, and then I can edit it Tuesday night and get it up Tuesday night. And that was my plan, lying in bed on Monday. And then I ended up I took a nap after yoga, which I shouldn't have. I wasn't even that tired. It's just I've now created a routine of taking a nap after yoga. And I'll get to that too. I got all these different tangents. I was about to just hop off this story and hop onto the next one and completely leave you hanging on where this is going. I'm on a train and I see a train beside me. I'm like, oh, wonder where that one's going. And then I hop over there and then I'm riding that train. And then before that train gets to its next station, I'm like, oh, you know what? There's another train going back the other way. I'm going to hop on that one. And I'm just all over the place and I'll never end a story. And I literally just, as I was talking about doing that, I just did that to talk about doing that. And I don't remember what I was talking about before. Monday, didn't want to film. I was grumpy and groom. I was upset. I wasn't upset. No, I was demotivated, uninspired, and lazy. But I got myself out of bed the second time that morning because I took a nap after yoga. And I took a shower. I ate some lunch, and I grabbed my tripod, and I got in Delilah, and I'm like, just drive. Just go do it. You gotta just do it. That should be someone's slogan. And I did it. I was very proud. I drove to the dollar store because I had to get some video equipment, including Scotch tape, foam hair rollers, and cotton balls. And then after that, I could drive out to, I don't know what the actual area is called. It's like between Cambridge and Guelph, kind of by Fergus as well. And then it was a spot where I'd asked a coworker who lives in Guelph if there's any good like swimming spots near Waterloo or anything. I had asked for this in August because I was planning on I want some beach days or something in September. I had these dreams of like, I'm going to spend my days like going out and doing so many things. When I move to Waterloo, I'm going to have so much freedom. None of that panned out. I don't go out anywhere. I spend most of my time right in front of this computer, recording podcasts or editing or just lazily watching YouTube videos. I was talking about inspiration. No, don't get sidetracked. And then, yeah, I ended up going out on Monday. You can see that video on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Aaron the Brock, Weekly Wander number 1. And I went out and explored these 2 quarries. It was a lot of fun. There were some cool spots, some cool areas to explore. It was very fun. It was the first official weekly wander because I literally did not know where I was going. I just had a treasure map and my soul, my spirit of adventure. And it turned out really well. And then I ended up not editing all of it on Tuesday. I did all the editing yesterday. And it was worth it, though. I think it turned out, it's my favorite one that's come out so far. I put more effort into the editing. My computer was just struggling to perform with it. My GPU was crashing every time I put in a title. And the window render preview was not working at all because it's too high quality. And yeah, it took all day to edit that 45 minutes of footage down to 15 minutes. I had some more fun with this one, though. I kind of put in my own touch into it, which was super enjoyable. So I hope if you have watched that and you enjoyed, I think you'll know the part I'm talking about. But that one came out really well, and I'm happy with the product. Usually I don't say that, but I rewatched that. I've watched that a couple of times on my computer before, just making sure I got it right. And I was like putting effort into it. It felt good. As I said before, I'm conditioned to be lazy and not put out a lot of effort because I've never had to. I got through school, not putting in a lot of effort. I got through my jobs, like just learning what I have to do and then put out that much effort. Like I've never been a high effort person, which is, I think I got to untrain myself to do that. And this video that I did yesterday, it was an enjoyable process, kind of thinking of ideas and how I could implement that. So hopefully I can replicate that in future ones, and they'll come out in that same standard. Musical interlude. A rare post-musical interlude edit. I was in the middle of editing this podcast, actually, like halfway through it, where this interlude takes place, and I was just not feeling it, not feeling this episode. The second half is still going to play out as regular, but I just wanted to pop in and let you know that I'm aware of the standard that this podcast is at right now. I just felt it was really boring, everything I was talking about. I'd mentioned to people before that I feel like this podcast is not really good for anyone that is not already friends with me. it's all very much so just me talking about myself. So I don't know how this is going to translate into getting outside viewership. I think I need to talk about more like broad subjects and cover my opinions on those and my thoughts on those. Not even necessarily like big things. Like I'm not going to talk about like political issues. I mean, I guess we talked about religion very loosely in the last one. But I need to do more things like that last one where I have my wild thoughts. I should read my notepad on my phone just to find you something to give you. I just feel like in this episode I didn't really give you anything of real substance on your drive to work or your drive home. So I want to make sure this is entertaining for not just people who know me, but for anybody. People who don't know me at all. I need to share fun stories and funny things. Even this musical interlude, post-interlude edit I threw in here now is not being entertaining. I'm just rambling. As I open the notepad on my phone, I'm going to find the first note I have and riff off of it. Stab-proof vest. The guy stabbing is more nervous. You guys ever seen that video? The guy who has, I guess it's like a product conference or whatever those are called, you know. There's like the big open floor and there's all these little booths set up. And this guy's showing off his, I guess the founder is showing off his stab-proof vest. And he's having this, his coworker come up and like stab him a bunch of times, whack him with a bat, you know, slice him, all kinds of different weapons. And everyone's like, man, the confidence in the owner is astounding that he's just standing here trusting in his product. But I felt the opposite. I think the guy doing the stabbing is going to be way more nervous because if that vest fails, he just murdered a guy in front of everybody. The other guy, you just die and now your life, I mean, it sucks for everyone who's left behind, but being dead is not that as bad as having to live with knowing you just murdered your boss in a conference showing off his product. Because A, you're definitely losing your job because that product is not going to sell. And B, you're probably going to jail for manslaughter. Would he go to jail for that? I don't know if he can find I guess the boss has to sign a consent, like, hey, if the vest fails and Tom stabs me 14 times in the trachea, not the trachea, because the trachea is in your throat. The vest was not in his throat. In the ribs, you know, just punctures him like a pincushion, that he will not face any consequences. So definitely there must be a sense of, if the boss is a dick, I'm sure Tom, who's doing the stabbing and the whacking, is feeling great. He can't wait to just unload all his frustration on his boss's stomach and chest with this knife and baseball bat. But on the other hand, he's like, man, I hope I don't take him out like Julius Caesar in front of this crowd. That wasn't too bad. I should do more of that. Just look at my notes and just riff off those because I got hundreds that not all these are going to turn into real ideas. You want another one? What do we got here? If Earth was a survivor style game show, humans would be voted off immediately. So imagine if Earth was this whole planet we're used to was actually just a TV show for aliens, and every species is competing on it. If you give every species a vote, you know, they have a consciousness that they can, I guess, figure out who to vote for and know how voting works, know what voting is. Humans would definitely get all the votes. There would be one vote for mosquitoes from the humankind, and then every other species would be like, yo, get these humans off this planet. They are atrocious. They are horrible. Which is true, we are. We have just taken this planet over and just decimated it to our own liking. Like we are somehow above every other species here, even though we evolved at the same rate. Just because we got brains evolved, we're like, yeah, well, you know what? We're better. We're better. We know what's going on here, so we'll take it from here. Every other species, as we just trash it, destroy it, take all the trees down, throw all our garbage in the water, create undestroyable products, and then toss them in the ocean when we're done with them. That's a hell of a power move. All the fish are like, yeah, you know what? Get rid of these guys. We're even below the surface. We can't fight them off. We're all-terrain tormentors. I think maybe dogs wouldn't vote for us. I think we're kind of cool with them. In most cultures, though, I guess it's tough. In other cultures, they're like, no, it's terrible here. We're living in the streets. Whereas you look like a golden retriever in Ohio. He's definitely like, you know what? I'm sticking with these. Alliance has been formed with the humans. Over the summer, they had the gypsum moths, an invasive species, and that's always been I like that phrase, an invasive species, because I mean I'm gonna get super arrogant here. Not arrogant, pretentious, I guess is the word. My favorite word of this podcast. But we are definitely the most invasive species. We're like, you know what? These moths they're ruining some of our trees, and we gotta stop this. If there's another species destroying trees, they're the worst thing ever. But when we're destroying trees to put up a shopping mall, we're cool with it and we're fine with it. we're just tearing out the rainforest hundreds of acres at a time. Yet these gypsum moths are having a real problem in Barrie. They're taking out a few hundred trees, and we just got to eradicate them by any means necessary. Genocide of all moths, just to eradicate this one species of moth. Meanwhile, we are just destroying trees and then paving over the land so that no other trees can grow here. Dumping absurd amounts of chemicals into the air, into the sea, into the ocean, to the lake, to the river. Just an overall trash, people. But we have the audacity to say, like, you know what, these little tiny species are bad news here. We got to get these guys in check. Do blind people ever forget where they are? That was a good one. I like that one. Because sometimes I forget where I am. You ever, like, after a night out, you wake up and you're not in your own bed and it takes you a while to, like, figure out where you are? Now imagine doing that without your own vision. Like, if blind people get blackout drunk, which... I guess the blackout refers to your mind, your memory, and not so much your vision. But you get blackout drunk, and then they wake up. They're going to have no idea where they are. Like, they can't just, oh, this is not my bedroom. I guess maybe they have a better sense of feel. Are beds more important to blind people because they appreciate it more? That's another question. I need to meet a blind person to ask them all these questions. But do they ever forget where they are? Like, if they're just sitting on a couch, and they're like, wait a second, what room am I in? Whose house am I at? Especially if they smoke weed and like weed gets you like lost in your thoughts. I mean, sometimes I get lost in my thoughts and I kind of like have this moment of coming back to reality. Like, oh, right, I'm here. I'm in my bedroom. I'm lying in bed. So, and that's all based on my visual cue. So I wonder, do blind people do they have that ability, or do they always have to like write down in Braille somehow, like what room they're in, and if they keep changing it? I don't know. That's a question for a blind person, I think. If you didn't know a language, what would your thoughts be? That was another one. I don't know. Because all my thoughts are in English, and I assume if you speak another language, your thoughts are in that language. So would they just think in objects and like based on things they see? And it has to be visual because you can't, or audio. I guess you can kind of. Can you imagine a sound? I can try and imagine a sound right now. I think I'm doing it. At first, I was just imagining myself. I was trying to think of a bell ringing, and I was just hearing myself in my head going ding, ding, ding. But then I kind of figured out, I think I'm hearing a bell in my head. Smells, you can't think of a smell. I think that's impossible. Yeah, even though the nose is like most attached, it's the closest to your memory. I think your sense of smell is like the best way to think of a memory. Yeah, so if you don't have a language, what would you think in? And I think there's those like kids who were raised by wolves. That the Jungle Book, Mowgli was inspired by a real kid. I think there's like a bunch of them though, who were just like abandoned in the wild and then raised by animals. And past a certain point, if you don't learn a language, I think when you're a child, you just can't. Like your brain's too far developed. You can't learn a language at that point, which is wild. So what would they think in? Which we would never know because we can't communicate with them. We can't talk to them. Please, there you go. Like I can't go through all my notes, but maybe this is a better method for the next episode. It's just going through my notes on my phone and picking out some ideas to talk about and see if I can riff on these. I didn't do too much on any of these. I just grabbed the first three I saw, but hopefully this provided a little more entertainment in the podcast. Sorry it was so boring so far. Unless you didn't find it boring, it's just my own self-conscious judgment not letting myself do anything good. But we'll hit you with another interlude. You can get back to the regular scheduled episode. Thank you for listening to this intermission, and enjoy the rest of me. Musical interlude. All right, let's get back to inspiration. I skipped over it before, and I want to circle back to it because I was saying I wish I could inspire myself like other people have said I inspired them. So I was looking for more inspiration this week, and I've been looking back at this guy I've looked at before. His name's Cameron Hanes. If anyone knows who that is, he's like the most known bow hunter I think in North America, and he's an endurance athlete. Runs like those ultra marathons. He's very known for his high stakes work ethic. His lift, run, shoot every day. Shooting being a bow and arrow, so it takes a lot of strength, it seems, to pull back a bow and arrow. So I've been watching his videos, trying to find some motivation, and that's the kind of thing that I think fires me up. I guess maybe that's the same feeling people get when they watch my videos, which I don't understand that, because he's doing absolutely crazy things, trying like a marathon a day, then lifting heavy, works a 9 to 5 still, shoots videos, he does it all. And he's like, I want to say he's in his 50s. He's not a young man. He's an older guy with kids. His son just broke the pull-up world record last year. I think he did 4,100 pull-ups in 18 hours. I don't even think I can do one. Maybe I could do 1 or 2 pull-ups. So I'm just shy of it, but that's not really a goal of mine. Yeah, I've been watching Cameron Haynes videos. I just watched one today to try and fire me up for this, to record this. He was doing leg day, and he did it by strapping a 130-pound boulder into a backpack and then hiking up and down a hill, which my leg day is just working through the 8 machines that they have at Fit for Less for 45 minutes and then calling it. So it's things like that where I don't necessarily want to be at the same output level as him, but it's more I get inspiration watching other people do things. And then I'm more like, okay, Aaron, why are you being such like a lazy shit then? Why are you doing nothing when these people are they're taking use of those 24 hours you get every day? And I am utilizing maybe like effectively. Today, I might effectively utilize 4 hours of my day. 2.5 hours for this podcast, and then 1.5 hours to do my fitness lesson. And then I think the rest of the day is going to be not a whole lot of anything. I already slept. I woke up, did my yoga at 8, came back to my room by 9, then slept until 12:30, forced myself to get out of bed, made lunch, took a shower, and here we are. Meanwhile, a guy like Cameron Haynes wakes up at 2 a.m, does his run, comes home, shoots his bow and arrow for like an hour, drives to work 9 to 5, runs at lunchtime there, then comes home again, works out, goes to bed and does it all again every single day. And I'm like complaining, oh, I gotta do a podcast today. I've got to record a podcast. I got no time. It's so hard. My life is so hard. I'm just such a baby. I need to stop. Treat yourself like someone you're supposed to take care of. I need to start taking the advice that I'm giving to other people and actually listen to it myself. Very good at giving out advice, but very bad at taking it. I said last week, one of the things I was good at keeping up with, actually, I don't know if I talked about all of this last week, but I did say my 10,000 steps a day I've been doing, and that's like one of the things I kept up on. And yeah, doing exercise and things like that, keeping my body and, working on my body, not so much my mind, but my body, going to the gym, doing workouts, doing yoga. I'm really good at keeping up with that during the week, it seems. And then doing other work-like things, which is something I need to stop doing. I need to stop calling all this stuff work. Because I think in my brain, hearing it as work makes me want to procrastinate, because that's what I do for work. I put off work. And this is supposed to be enjoyable. I quit work so I could go do whatever I wanted throughout my days. But now that I'm doing whatever I wanted, I'm just classifying it as work and now putting it off so then I can just be lazy again. And it's not a very productive mindset at all. It's very deproductive. I wish I was more eloquent. Where are these words coming from in my brain? So I really need to realize that have to take advantage of this free time I have now. I'm not always going to have a full days and weeks of just my own time to fill with what I want to do. And that's the problem with having all the time of what you want to do, is it's like encourages procrastination, because I know that tomorrow I'm doing nothing either. So I could spend time doing all this stuff today, but look at tomorrow's free. Tomorrow is Friday, but Saturday's free, Sunday's free. Every day of the week is the exact same for me, because I got no commitments other than 8 a.m. yoga with Ethan and 6 p.m. on Thursdays fitness class with the elderly ladies at Rim Park. So I need to start treating this as, I don't know what I gotta treat it as. I gotta find some way to convince myself that, I know I enjoy this. Recording this podcast now is easy. The part before hitting record is hard. Getting down to click that record button. I did already I started this podcast and did like 5 minutes and deleted all of it because my brain was just not working. I wasn't coming up with anything to say. No words were flowing. I was just boning myself out. So I had to restart and get the snowball rolling again. Speaking of getting that snowball rolling again, I just cut another like 3 minutes. Today is just not a productive day. The brain is not flowing in the ways I want it to flow. I'm not going to give up on this. I'm going to keep talking, and if I got to delete more and more sections and keep restarting, I'm going to keep doing that because I need to give you guys content that you deserve. The content you signed up for when you put your faith in air and air out. You came to hear me air out, and god damn it, I'm going to air out for you guys. So let's talk about going for walks. I think I talked about it at some point back in 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, 2 minutes ago. I don't know. I've been doing that every single day. And something I'm struggling with on my walks is when you come into another walker, another person out there. I'm always very unsure of when I can make eye contact and acknowledge them. I've been walking without headphones on lately. So I feel like when I am passing someone, I have to verbally acknowledge them rather than just pretend I don't see them. But it's when you're walking towards each other, how much distance away until you make the eye contact and say, oh, hello, good morning, hi. Or for people with headphones on, I usually just give them the old smile and nod. It's tough because I'm walking and someone's coming towards me, say they're 30 feet away. I'm not going to look at them and start smiling right now because that's weird because now we're going to be walking towards each other for like 15 seconds. I don't really know how big 30 feet is, but you get what I'm talking about. If it was like 15 seconds of sustained eye contact smiling, that's going to make them more uncomfortable. So instead, I'm like averting my eyes and just pretending I don't see them, either like looking dead straight ahead or like, glancing to my right, looking up, pretending I'm seeing like a bird or something. And then when they're like close enough to me, I then look, hello, good morning, smile, and then they, either say it back or they just nod and go by. But what's the acceptable distance for that? Does anyone else just panic and just start like overthinking what they're doing, how much they're breathing? Sometimes I stop breathing because I'm worried that they're going to think that I'm breathing too much. So I just hold my breath and then I'm walking up to them and I realize that like I need to let out a big gasp here. I'm dying. I'm suffocating myself. And that's going to be even worse if rather than staring at someone for too long and smiling for too long, instead I'm going to walk up and then just in front of them just go, like that's even more embarrassing. And it happens worse with I think with women too, especially women my age. I'm not a player or a smooth talker at all. So I see if I'm walking towards someone my age and they're of the opposite gender, I'm like, okay, if you stare, they're going to obviously think you're a creep and you're too into them. So you got to pretend you don't see them and look away, walk up a little taller, and breathe nice and slow. Like this walk isn't even airing, this takes no effort for you walking. You're such a good walker, and they're going to be impressed by how well you sustain your breath. But then I end up breathing too little, and I end up just holding my breath walking by them. And then as soon as I pass them, I do what I just did, just, oh God. I don't audibly say oh God, but in my head I'm thinking it, and then I'm like, okay, I nailed that. She's totally gonna be so unsuspecting, and I probably look so natural, whereas I must have looked like I was just clenching the whole time, just rigid as a board. The older the people are, the easier and more friendly they seem to be on their walks. Like all the people who I'm gonna say look like they're retired, because they're out walking at either early in the morning or not even early, 10 o'clock in the morning or 2 in the afternoon. I think that's usually not a time of day that the working people are out at. So they're usually super friendly. They got their dogs. And if you have a dog, it's way easier for me because I'm just looking right at the dog and I'm smiling at the dog. I almost feel bad because I don't acknowledge the dog owner sometimes. I see a dog, I'm like, what's this guy up to? Look at this goofball. Look at this hairy little white fur ball. And I'm just smiling and talking to him, giving them pets. And then I'm like, oh yes, and you have a human too. Nice to meet you, human. And then we go on our way. But the older people usually, they'll say hello or beautiful morning. They'll smile and they'll look happy when they're smiling at you, and not just go from a dead straight face that I have, my resting board face, to oh hi, and then it's immediately gone as soon as you pass them again. They seem genuinely excited to see you and happy to be out. And I'm sure they probably are, because they're they didn't have to go to work that day. They don't got to go to work tomorrow. They're just walking is their life. And we live in a pretty nice neighborhood, so I'm sure financially they're set too. So they're just enjoying their time. And the younger people, the closer they get to my age and younger, I find they'll almost try and go no eye contact at all. Just headphones in and just stare straight ahead. And then I give them the nod and the smile as they walk by and they give me nothing. And I'm like, well, you know what? I tried. At least I'm putting myself out there, trying to make new friends and nodding at one man at a time. I've been watching, I finished watching Squid Game. If anyone watched that on Netflix. It's kind of a battle royale style show. Takes place in Korea. I'll try not to spoil it for you, but they gather up a bunch of people who are severely in debt and very poor and put them in this game show where you compete in children's games, and if you don't pass the game, you are eliminated, which I'm sure you can figure out what eliminated means. The players couldn't figure it out in episode 1, but I bet you could figure it out. And it was an entertaining show. I can see why it's blowing up. There's a weird adapting kind of period for it because they all have, it's Korean, but it's overdubbed with like American accents. So it's all these like very, very, I don't know, the voices just don't match the characters whatsoever. Like, it doesn't even look close. And it made me thinking, like, the people doing the voice acting for, like, doing a dub over, you can't use, like, famous actors for that stuff because people would recognize them and really, like, throw it off. You'd have to use nobodies. So is this, like, people must be putting this on their resumes, though, that they did I was a voice actor in Squid Game. I was the main character. Is that equally as respected as people who like do voice acting in animated movies? Like, is it on the same level, or is it more frowned upon because you're just subtitles at that point? There wasn't a lot of vocal acting, I feel like, in the show. It was very like monotone delivery of lines. So I don't think it could have honestly just been like, just get some regular actor who does commercials and get him to read these lines, because you'd be very thrown off if you're watching Squid Game and the dubbing's like Matt Damon's voice, and then Susan Sarandon's like the female lead. Like, what's going on here? That's very clearly not that actor. I don't know. That's what I was thinking about. The show is good though. The show is very entertaining. 9 episodes, I think. Yeah, if you're looking for some mindless show, it doesn't take a lot of thinking. It's I think you can figure out most of the plot just by watching a few of the episodes. You can tell where's it going. Who's not going to get eliminated in these games, but a good watch. I give it a recommendation. Something else I touched on in the Weekly Wander was how I could very much enjoy if the Weekly Wanders became like something I could sustain myself with. Weekly Wanders and podcasts, even though I know that's the only 2 things I'm doing right now. I watched a couple documentaries. One was called Expedition Happiness. The other Pedal Around the World or Pedal the World, something like that. It was they're both made by the same German guy, and his girlfriend, I guess they weren't dating in the first one, Pedal the World, but they are dating in the second one. The second one inspired me more. So they're a couple, and they didn't like the traditional lifestyle, like me. So they decided to fly to America. They bought an old school bus and renovated it into like a living van. It was a very luxury van. And then they took that and drove all across. First they drove across Canada, then they drove across the United States, and they drove into Mexico, and then not just Mexico, but like South America. I used to think Mexico was South America for a long time, because it was south of America, so it made sense to me. It's not though. I learned that now. But seeing that lifestyle of just every day they just get to drive around and explore the countryside, and they've got everything they need in this bus, the 2 of them and their dog. It was like, that's what I want to do. That is the lifestyle I want. The Nomad lifestyle. Driving around, exploring. Every day's a new adventure. I said I made a big change in my life, moving from Barrie to Waterloo, but the city is the city. They're very similar. They have different layouts and they look different, but the life is the same. And I didn't really change my lifestyle. I'm still essentially working for myself Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 or whatever hours I end up working. Usually not 9 to 5. And then weekends off, and then rinse and repeat. So I didn't really change much, other than just what I went from getting paid to not getting paid. And that's about it. But now I'm thinking, when this lease is up in Waterloo in September, I kind of want to just get in Delilah and just drive. Don't make any plans. Just know I have to release podcasts and make videos, and that's it. stop worrying so much about what my schedule is and where I have to be on certain days, and just kind of explore and see where it takes me. Do the same thing I'm doing with this podcast, just with my life. Just don't plan out where I'm going, what I'm going to talk about. Just drive around and explore. And I think Canada would be cool to start with. United States is a little tougher with, visas and different money and that. But I think it would be cool at some point to even just get to other countries, especially where your dollar goes a lot farther, and just, spend time exploring that way. I was listening to a podcast, the Honeydew podcast, which I mentioned before, and Ryan Sickler, the host, was talking to Ari Shafir, who, what he does, he just like flies to a country and just
It's immerses, Aaron. Immerses himself.
The words escape me. But he just flies to a country, and like for 6 months, he just lives in that country. I think the first time he did it, he like didn't bring his cell phone, didn't check emails, didn't do anything. He just completely lived on his own. You pick up the language just by talking to people and learning their culture and learning what to do, and just meeting locals, and they show you around, show you what fun things to do, and you're just exploring the whole time. No agenda, no itinerary. It's just, you're just living your life and exploring it and doing what you want to do. And that seems like the life I want to live. I don't really have these aspirations to have like a big luxurious house and a boat and fancy cars. I just want to be able to do what I want, and also like be able to do nothing and feel like that's okay. Right now I do nothing too much, but it's like there's this voice in my back of my head that's saying like, oh, you're not doing anything productive. You're not advancing your life. What are you doing? Which is like, there's that mindset that we have to work our whole lives to earn our retirement. And that's I don't really agree with that. That you work 40 hours a week till you're 65, then you get 65 till you're dead with whatever money you saved up. That's when you get to enjoy your life. Before that, all your good years where you're physically capable of doing things, now you got to spend that time making more money for other people than you're making for yourself. So that would be a super cool journey that I hope I can get to. Ideally, I'd be able to keep up with this podcast, and it would have grown by next September. We're getting a little more than 20 viewers. Maybe someone has decided to sponsor this podcast, realizing the pure potential Aaron Brock has to sell your products. And hopefully the YouTube videos are taking off a little better. The YouTube channel with Ethan and Martin should be up and running. I'm hoping by next September. We're building up a stockpile of videos, and I'm sure by then we would have stuff out and recorded. So I think it's a possibility that I could maybe make a small living, enough I'd have to really just pay gas and stuff, gas and food if I was just driving in my car and, finding places to live, crashing on couches, using the generosity of strangers, and just, exploring my life that way. That would be, that's the dream right now, to be a trash man across the country. I don't know if I've ever talked about the trash man. I am the trash man, if you don't know. The name, it's hard to say where the name comes from. The name itself came from an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where it's a wrestling episode, and Frank is the trash man, and he's got like the Andre the Giant singlet on. He's got a big trash can that he throws at Rickety Cricket, and then he spits trash on him. He goes, "I'm the trash man." It's a funny scene. But I think the first time I called myself that was, I want to say we were all visiting Ethan, not at this house in Waterloo because he didn't live here, but at a different house in Waterloo. And it had been a late night, and the basement that three of us were sleeping in, no windows, just like a basement door, completely black basement, super stuffy. And we were lying down there, and I could not sleep down there. Just couldn't fall asleep at all. It's just like, you're like giving me anxiety sleeping down there. So I grabbed my air mattress, pulled it out into his backyard, stuffed it behind a leather couch that had been sitting in the rain for, looked like months, and a trash can, and just slept behind that out in the nature with just my blanket. And it was the best sleep I've ever had. Slept like a baby. And that's when the trash man really started coming out. It's just it's more so I have a very low standard of what I need for life. Very low, low expectations. I don't need much. I spent a whole job coming home covered in poop. Like, I'm a disgusting human being. I am made of trash, and I live in the trash, and I love it. I love being a trash man. I'm very proud of that. The trash man. That's the podcast intro. How janky and abrupt it is. Like, it suits the trash man aesthetic. So the trash man If you ever hear about the trash man, it's me. I'm the trash man. So I would love to be a trash man. If I have to sleep in Delilah, I'm fine with that. If I got to sleep in a tent for a while, I'm fine with that. As long as I'm allowed to be lazy, really. That's what I want, to be able to do nothing and be completely okay with it and know that's fine. And that I can just enjoy my time. I don't have to constantly be working on something or working on progressing myself, because life is more for enjoyment than it is. I don't know why it has to be for work. It's called life. You got to live life, not work life. Live more like squirrels, Squirrels don't pay taxes. Squirrels don't worry about anything but getting food, sleeping, and not getting eaten. Squirrels got it made. Every other species, no other species worries to the level that we do. Thinking is a real predicament we're in. It's helped us create this big society and all these fancy things we have now, but it's also made us completely overwhelmed and feel like I always try and get philosophical in this. And then I get halfway through the point and realize I'm not that philosophical and I'm not that smart. I don't know what point I'm trying to make. All I know is that for me, thinking has been a detriment, and I've overthought for my entire life. That's why I don't talk, because I spend all my time thinking my thoughts. I never make that connection between my brain and my mouth. It's always just brain to brain, just a racetrack of thoughts all around there. Ethan had some friends over last Friday, and I was like, oh, this will be a good time for me to talk to some new people, to be, get out of my shell. Spent the whole time just in my head, convinced that since they were talking about grad school, I would not be able to contribute anything to the podcast to the conversation, because I'm not in grad school. I can't relate to them. Therefore, I can't talk to these people. They're not my kind of people. I convinced myself that a lot. Same way I convinced myself that I'm a quiet person. Therefore, I shall not talk. And if I do talk, people be too, their minds will be blown. Like, oh my God, he can talk? I can't believe that. And I need to stop doing that about other people. Thinking, oh, you know what? We got nothing in common. Can't talk to them anyways. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to sit here and laugh at their jokes. And that's it. So that's what I got to work on. And that's what I'm hoping these stream of conscious podcasts will do for me. Help me get better at just flowing thoughts. Because when I don't think and I talk, good things happen. When I do think, I don't talk. So I'm trying to think less, talk more. Which we could all benefit from that. I don't know. I'm putting that onus on everyone else. I like to think that everyone else has the same problems that I do, and it makes me feel better about myself. But that's not true. You guys got your own problems that I don't have. We all got separate problems, as well as similar problems. We all got problems. My next problem is these 2 baskets of clean laundry that I got to fold and put away, as well as the dirty plates and pots I have sitting on my rolly chair that I have to put away, as well as the 10,000 steps I have to go get today, and then go to a gym class. But c'est la vie. It is what it is. Is that what c'est la vie means? C'est is it is. I don't know. C'est la vie. I should also play my guitar. It's been sitting collecting dust in the back. I told myself I was going to restart it, start fresh, and just start learning scales again. And just, rebuild those calluses. And I think I've got so much potential that I just don't use at all. I'm such a waste of my own talent. Again, getting back to the pretentiousness, but I've succeeded in my life putting in no effort. So you'd think if I put in effort, I'd have even greater success. You'd think that's how it works. Yet, in my mind, it's that I have already succeeded doing nothing. Therefore, if I continue to do nothing and putting in low effort, I will continue to succeed still. So that's why I kind of want to run out of money and, introduce that kind of struggle into my life, and that, light a fire under my butt, pressure myself to actually have to do things and put myself out there. Because I've never struggled. I've run out of money before in my life, but it's never concerned me, because I know I had a paycheck coming, or I had an OSAP tuition payment coming in. So I never had to worry about it. But this time I don't have a job right now. So if I ran out of money right now, I'd have no way to pay my rent. Therefore, I'd have to run out and get a job and start making money, or I'd have to really start ramping up what I'm doing for these online things, figure out how I can advertise this more and market it more to get it to more people, to hopefully a sponsor would notice. And then, I'll take any sponsorship. I'll sell out so fast. You have no worries. Company, whatever you do, I'm all on board. I don't even care. I'm not going to research what you do. Not going to see your ethical practices or anything. You got money, I got a voice. Let's do it. Although I told myself, before I actually started making videos and doing things like that, doing things like this, I was like, you know what? I'm only going to take sponsorships from products that I actually use and believe in. I'm not just going to take every Raid Shadow Legends, Manscaped, and Squarespace ad just because they offer it to me. Only things I use and things I really believe in. And I'm going to take very little. Like, there's part of me that didn't want to take a sponsorship and just wanted to make all my money, like, somehow, like, doing merch and all on my own. Which, now I'm like, that is so stupid. I need money. If someone's willing to give me it just for, like, shouting out the product, totally on board. I am way past, that this idea that people would respect me more if I didn't take a sponsorship. Because, I haven't lost respect. Everyone just puts a sponsor at the end of their video or at the start of their podcast. I still listen. I don't, forget about them for that. Oh, I hope this one was entertaining. I'm going to have to cut it down again, but I think we're getting better. Again, I came in with nothing to talk about, and we got past the 50-minute mark. We got through the therapy session. Looking back, listening on this, we'll see what I actually think of it. I already don't remember what I talked about in the beginning. I don't know how I got to 50 minutes. I don't know when I'm going to put the musical interludes in. I released on the last one, there's this option to put a poll out on Spotify to ask a question, and I got no answers. So I was like, oh, that's a little weird. And then I went on Spotify, and I'm like, I have no idea where they put this question. I couldn't even find it. I couldn't even find my own question. So I don't know how I could expect you guys to find it. So I've decided that I am going to put these podcasts, I'm going to upload retroactively to YouTube. Just as one, it's going to help more people find it, I think. And that's always a plus. And two, it's got a comment section on there that you guys can leave comments on. So, whether you still listen on Spotify or wherever you listen to this, Google, Apple, Podbean, Radio, Broadband, whatever it is, any of those, and you have some words you'd like to say to me, whether you want to curse me out or compliment me, you can find these on YouTube now and sauce a comment in there. And while you're there, just hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, maybe make a few extra accounts and do some extra subscriptions. And every time a video comes out, go back and watch it on all those accounts. Just really help me out. Oh, other than that, I don't know what else I got to talk about. Maybe when I'm editing this, we'll see if I come up with anything else. I did leave some blank spaces so I can just interject other random thoughts in there. But for now, I think that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this other weekly wander, now the weekly ramble. Remember to check out my YouTube channel, Aaron the Brock. And remember to listen to this podcast, Aaron Air Out, every single Thursday.
And sometimes Friday.
We're 5 in, going for 500. You guys take it easy and have yourselves a great weekend.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed your stay. Now take what you learned and have a great day. Damn, it feels good to air out.